Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our webinar of this exciting investment opportunity on Corinthian Village Apartments. I know that it's been a long working day for most of you, so thank you for coming this evening. And we are committed to showing you the details of this property, why it is such a great investment for all of us. At the end of the presentation, we hope you will feel excited about this opportunity as we do. And if you have any questions, we'll have Q&A sessions at the end of the presentation. Today's presentation is brought to you by Brookings Capital, Dwelling and Joy Home, who are the partners for this project. Let's proceed to the next slide. This is a disclaimer slide that you can read the details later, but basically it discloses that the information we present today is an investment summary provided to you, the prospective investors, but it is not an offer to sell neither a security nor solicitation to sell security. After the presentation, upon your request, we will provide you the subscription documents and the LLC operating agreements. So for today's agenda, we'll first give you some executive summary of this property, and then we will introduce you to the principal sponsors of this project, their experiences and track record in the real estate investment, especially the multifamily investment. And then we'll give you some overview of the Houston markets, the local submarket where this property locates, which is the Central Southwest submarket. And we'll also give you some overview of the property. And then after that, we're going to share with you our business plan and the associated financial analysis, performance, etc. with it. Then later, we'll also give you some guidelines, timelines for the investment, should you decide to invest with us. And finally, we'll have the Q&A sessions that you can ask us any questions that you may have. So first, some executive summary of this property. It is a 124-unit Class A minus property building. And it provides us with value-add opportunities that we'll share with you later in details. It locates in the fast-growing Central Southwest Houston neighborhood. It is also a 55-plus senior independent living community. 40 units out of the total 124 units are dedicated to supporting lower-income renters that we'll also share details with you later. The purchase price is very attractive. It's 8.3 million, which is equivalent to about 67,000 per unit. The building was built in 2009, and it sits on a 5.77 acre site. The property has a mixture of efficient units, one-bedroom units, and two-bedroom units, with an average unit size of 777 square feet. Right now, the average in-place rent is a little over 1,000. Currently, the occupancy is at 93%. It is very stable, but yet presenting significant rent increases opportunities for us. The community is part of a master planned neighborhood with convenience to shopping needs and restaurants. Later in the presentation, we're going to share with you the master plan when this whole community was developed. The property is conveniently located within minutes away from Highway 90, I-610, and the Bell 8. It is within 10 miles to Texas Medical Center and NRG Stadium. Texas Medical Center Bioport, which will be the Phase 4 Medical Center development, will be just a few minutes away from the property once it's developed. The median home values in the neighborhood communities is at about $230,000. Corinthian Village offers us high value add returns. We're actually targeting 16.9% net internal rate of return and 22.2% average annual return for the project over the next 5 years. Because our purchase price is very low, and the hot loan that we're going to assume is also has fixed a low interest rate, which is only 3.57%. And it also offers us the value add opportunities. Now we're going to introduce you the sponsors in this project. David Shantu, he is from Brook East Capital. He has been investing in real estate since 2008, with a variety of investment experiences in both residential and commercial. He has been property managing his residential rental properties and doing value add repositioning for many years. He is very good at finding underperforming assets, strategically creating different deal structures, and utilizing various funding sources to create value for investors. David has excellent track record of generating and maintaining positive cash flow holdings. In the multifamily projects, David has been a leading GP in 4 multifamily projects totaling about 500 units. He plays important roles at building broker relationship for property acquisitions, coming up with business plans, doing due diligence, working with lenders for loan and the closing process, asset managing with property management company, and managing CapEx activities with contractors. Prior to real estate investing, David was a professional in the civil engineering field and informational and the technology field for a total of about 15 years. He has a Master of Science degree in civil engineer and computer science and technology. Michelle, who is me, also from Brook East Capital. I have been a full-time multifamily investor since 2018 with more than 10 years real estate investing experiences. I'm very experienced at evaluating and underwriting multifamily deals and has worked closely with other partners for the past years. As one of the leading GPs, my roles are underwriting deals, coming up with business plans and CapEx budgets, doing due diligence, discussing with lenders for loan programs, managing CapEx programs along with lenders, and asset managing with property management company. Currently, the asset under management, including 4 multifamily projects totaling about 500 units. Prior to being a real estate professional, I have held management roles in the pharmaceutical industry for almost 20 years, had a PhD degree in biochemistry and an MBA degree. I'm very proud of myself being trained with excellent project management skills as well as people management skills, which I think is very applicable to multifamily acquisition and management to ensure timely delivery of projects. Now I'm going to hand over to Ola Dantes. He's going to introduce his partners in dwelling. So Ola.
Thanks, Michelle. Yeah, we can go to the next slide.
Oh, sorry, I forgot about that.
It's okay. It's okay. Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks everyone for coming to this webinar. Really appreciate your time. My name is Ola from Dwelling. I've got my partner Alfredo also on the call. So I'm going to start with Alfredo. So Alfredo is an entrepreneur, a business owner, owns a successful company in the DMV area in DC. Has been doing that for quite a long time, about 10 to 15 years now. He's also partnered in a lot of multifamily syndication. So he's getting close to that 1,000 unit mark, but he's done about 750 units thus far. Also owns some assets within Dwelling right now. So we believe his years of experience in construction will be really, really helpful, as he has been with our current portfolios that we hold. So of course we can direct that into this deal, into Corinthians as well. Alfred is seasoned at evaluating, looking at deals, managing them, ensuring we have positive cash flow on our current portfolio. So we're looking to leverage that, continue to leverage that as we grow and as we acquire this asset. I'm Ola Dante. Some of you might know me on this call. founder principal at dwelling.com. We've been doing quite a bit of acquisition in the great state of Texas. I'm closing in about 60 million worth of assets that we've actually sourced and acquired. Been doing this for quite some time now, say about 10 years, just in real estate. Really proud of that. We continue to grow in our firm. Been doing this full time for about two years now, going 2 years. So I'll say I have quite a lot of experience just running this assets, kind of from buying them, adding some value, and then continue to cash flow the asset and then exiting, and of course, doing that process, but also really benefiting our investors in terms of a lot of cash flow and exit capital. I've been also before real estate, got about 15 years experience working for a Fortune 6 healthcare company here in the United States. And then I hold bachelor degrees and master's degrees from the United Kingdom. We can go to the next slide. I think Joyce is going to jump in and introduce herself.
Good evening, everyone. This is Joyce. I'm a full-time licensed real estate agent and syndicator. Over the past few years, I will assisted over 200 families with buying and selling homes. And I will successfully manage the investment projects in multiple family projects and land development and flipping. I was syndicated 3 deals, totally 114 doors in multiple family property, and have raised over 2 million in capital. I'm confident that this project is a great opportunity, and I hope you find it as promising as I do. Thank you.
Thank you, Joyce. I want to add
Joyce.
something, Ola, before you go on. So Ola and us, David, I have been doing deals. This is our 3rd deal that we partnered together. It's been a pleasure working, Ola. We had a very harmonic working relation. For Alfredo, this is our 2nd time collaborating. Alfredo gave me the impression that he is a very humble businessman, and we share a lot of common views and visions in the real estate investment. And Joyce joined us. I think she is very local, where this property locates. And her expertise, I think she will add a lot of value when we hold this property, we want to generate a lot of other incomes. I think I had a very high expectation that Joyce will create that value for us investors.
Thank you.
Yeah.
No pressure, Joyce. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we can go to the next slide.
Mm-hmm.
So just a little bit about the track record. I think this is always, we just kind of want to give you what we've done. So first project, like Michelle already mentioned, we did, it's a 22 unit. Some of you on the call might know this deal, done fantastically well. We've averaged 5.5, cash and cash. For folks that were on that deal would know, the economy, whether it was up or down, the deal was solid, really stayed in place, and kind of the recent cash and cash has been, close to 7%, so 6.7. So done pretty well for us. We're really proud of that project and kind of what we've done in just, a short period of time, and we continue to cash for that asset and running as tight as we can. What we predicted doing our webinar, just like this one, in terms of NOI, we have surpassed that 5-year mark already, kind of midway through that project. So we're really proud of that deal. So moving to property 2, really another great story. We got a really good deal going in, similar to Corinthian's Village, right? We had a good cost basis for that deal in Killeen. It was 178 units. So we've really done well. We got a good interest rate as well. So 10% cash on cash for our investors on that deal, for those that were lucky enough to kind of jump in on that deal with us. Really kind of pushed through the NOI, really reduced expenses, and increased our revenues. We're able to really capture that value in terms of NOI. So we're super proud of that. And of course, the GPs, we've done a pretty good, just just running the deal tight, and then the on-site team have also done a great job. So yeah, we don't want to take all the credit. It's kind of a teamwork. And then property 3 as well, Michelle and David have done an amazing job rebranding, that deal, going in day on day, working. I think if I call David, he's probably on that property almost every day, really just pushing that deal. So as you can see, it was a deep value add, and in 1 year, about 146 units were renovated. For those on the call, just kind of give you a context, that is a lot of renovation. In 1 year, that is a lot, and you got to really push the team really to achieve those kinds of milestones. So really planning to exceed that by 26 units as well. And most importantly, not having cost overruns, right? In construction, you got to be careful, making sure that you don't really go over budget. So that's really key as well, that we've done that on the budget. And just think about buying the asset at 60% occupancy, but now currently almost pushing 90. Again, for those that are not in the game every day, these are really, really incredible results, frankly, because it does take a lot of sweat and tears really just to push a property from 60% occupancy to 89. It's a lot of work. So, that's been really good. But most importantly, the income has also doubled, right? So it's good that we stay on the budget in terms of renovations, pushing the occupancy, but really just capturing all that work in terms of revenue collection. I think that's remarkable. So we've got to mention that. And also really just keeping that OPEX, what we call OPEX expenses, kind of at the same level. That's been just really good for us. And then another deal that we own, just kind of south of Houston in West Columbia, same situation. Alfred, I'm going to call you out on this. Really, the construction expertise just really helped us to really push that property. Almost renovated all of the units within 18 months. Of course, you jacked up those rents to capture all that renovation. We are investors, so we do invest, but we want to capture that revenue as well. We, at inception, when we bought the property, it was about 79 in terms of occupancy. We've, just really skyrocketed to 100%. As of today, when I looked at the dashboard, we're about 95, but we also have, leads coming in that we're going to convert into leases. In terms of expenses, of course, we've reduced that quite a bit since we, took over the asset from the previous owner. Really, just chopped that down from 60% of the income. On every dollar we make, the previous owner was spending 60%. Now we've kind of gotten that to, to 40 cents on a dollar. So that's remarkable. So that has really helped our investors to get to, close to 7% in terms of cash on cash. So, really proud of that as well. We can go to the next slide, please. And then the next slide. So we're just going to dive into kind of like, the Houston multifamily market. So for some of you, you might not know a lot about Houston, kind of what the MSA of Houston. Houston is actually quite a big city. So about 7.2 million people. We're currently the 5th largest city in the US. We are kind of poised to overtake Chicago and become the 4th, right, as well in the US. I think that would happen in a few years. In terms of the city population, as in just the Houston proper, it's about 2.3. So that's a lot of cars, a lot of people. Anyone that has been here, you can tell. And then, most importantly, the population keeps growing year on year. It's about 1.4%, but just kind of to benchmark that with the average in the US, it's quite a lot. It's almost 3 times the average. So we're having a lot of influx of people, and that's good for us. That's good for this deal. Kind of moving to employment, a lot of jobs, of course, as you would expect. A lot of people, a lot of drivers for those people is the jobs. That's why they come here. They're not coming just for the sightseeing, because the jobs are there. So Houston is number 2 for just net gaining in unemployment. And, we kind of discussed that a little bit more as well. And that's kind of been growing for the MSA. So that's kind of the Houston, Woodland, Sugarland area. And, we've kind of seen that jobs kind of grown to about 80K just this last April this year, by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So we're really seeing an uptick, and we are capturing that in the multifamily space. Kind of on the left, bottom left quadrant, you can kind of see the projections of kind of population growth in the metro area. So we are steadily growing, right? Cities being built, new roads. Anyone that lives in Houston, Katy, wherever, you can just kind of see a lot of roads being built because we're trying to accommodate kind of the growth. So by 2050, we're kind of reaching that 10 million mark. So we are not worried about having folks take our apartments, rent our apartments, because the population growth is just keeps rising. Kind of on the right corner bottom, you can kind of see just the net change in terms of private industry, super sector employment. That's what we call the kind of the breakdown of the sectors of those jobs. The reason we like to show this is people mostly think of Houston of kind of the oil city. Yes, that was true, but that was back in the day, right? Now in Houston, we have a diversity of jobs, right? Healthcare is actually, as you can see, it's one of the big ones, right? Many people don't know this, but the Texas Medical Center, the TMC, has the largest medical center in the world, right? So this is good for our due, and then you can also see the other sectors. We can move to the next slide, Michelle, please. This kind of also gives a different picture of that, right? So you can kind of see the industry share. Kind of in the metro area as well. So you kind of gauge to see that we don't have that sort of, just one industry risk. We're quite versatile in terms of sources of employment. So that's been good for us, and we hope to continue to see that. And on the bottom, you just kind of want to look at Houston and the metro area from an economic macro perspective. So we are the 7th largest metro economy in the United States, right? So we're bigger than some GDPs of some countries, about 512 billion in terms of GDP. And of course, like I mentioned, we just have different employment sources, and that is a really good thing for our city. Next slide, please. So for those that, again, don't live in Houston, please come and visit. We have quite a lot going on. You might be wondering, what is happening over there in Houston? Well, we have quite a lot, right? We've got the CBD, Central Business District, a lot of employees there. And most importantly, not just the people working there, but the Fortune companies that are there. So we have about 12 Fortune 500 companies, in kind of the CBD area. So that's a lot of of Fortune companies, right? 12, that's quite a bit. So those companies employ a lot of people, right? And these people who want to stay somewhere close to the CBD area. Again, I already mentioned the Texas Medical Center, that is huge. A lot of us have friends working there in the Texas Medical Center. We have the largest children's hospital and the largest cancer research hospital as well in the TMC. And the Galleria, for those that love shopping, it's a huge, everything is bigger in Texas, right? It's a huge mall. A lot of people working in the mall, a lot of people coming into Houston just to shop at the Galleria. You have quite a lot of options as well. The energy corridor, it's a big one for us. Here in Texas, you got a lot of international companies, a lot of local energy companies as well. Again, a lot of employees, a lot of people working in the energy corridor. Port of Houston, I mean, just incredible. If you want to Google this, largest, Gulf Coast container port. I mean, it's incredible. Just #1 in the whole US for sort of domestic tonnage. A lot of goods are moving through the Port of Houston. People don't know this, but do some research and you'll be fascinated. The Woodlands, a lot of master planning going there for good reasons. There's a lot of people coming. So really excited about the Woodlands. You've got ExxonMobil, you've got HP just relocated the headquarters there. So all of this kind of feeds into the growth of the area. Next slide, please. So I'm not going to go each kind of bullet point, but this is again kind of an overview where Houston is kind of ranked as the 3rd in the US in terms of population growth, right? So we continue to see that happen, and a lot of migration, domestic and international. Again, we're kind of moving towards energy, into healthcare, technology, aerospace. We have a lot of things going on for us. We are starting to take a lot of the major, tech companies from California. They want to come here. Of course, we've seen a lot of big companies come, from California to Texas and of course to Houston. But I think I really want to touch on the fact that rents, are still kind of growing, right? Of course, we have some ups and downs, but overall, it's kind of grew for us. Just a really quick highlight. I'm going to kind of zoom through them. We've got about 15.7 in terms of, the rent growth. Right. I mean, I want to start on that point because this deal we're buying, we're going to have to increase the rent as we add value and invest into the property. So that's good. We can continue to ride that trend. And of course, as we build more units, we can see that some of those units have been absorbed. So about 37K of those units have been absorbed, which means basically when builders build, people lease, right? So that's been good. Number 3 in the US for multifamily demand. So that is not shocking if you have a lot of people, right? And then right now we're seeing a kind of a decline in permits of new builds right now. So that's going to be good for Corinthians because then people can come to our property, right? Because developers aren't building as much, and then the rent growth projection is still looking pretty strong. Of course, you're going to get the slide so you can look into this in depth. And we can go to the next slide, Michelle. Just looking at the time here. We can go to the next slide. So just to kind of have a vantage point of kind of where Corinthians is on the map and, kind of some of those areas that I mentioned, you can see the Orange Energy Corridor, West Chase, the CBD, like I mentioned, the TMC. So, I mean, just the proximity of Corinthians to all of this, just demand drivers. I mean, it's incredible. I mean, it's just so close for us. So we kind of call that the inner loop here in Houston. So we're so close, that we just know that this is going to be so much beneficial for Corinthians in the long term. Next slide, please. Michelle, please feel free to jump in at any time if you want, if I miss something. Again, just kind of another view of the map. You can see Corinthians to the bottom right, and then you can see the NRG Park. For those who know, we have a lot of events in the NRG Park. And then you've got kind of a lot of retail, HEB, the TMC again. So quite a lot. You got some elementary school, high school, really close to the property. So this kind of just reiterates the value, in terms of proximity for Corinthians Village. Next slide, please. So again, this is like a master plan. So as you can see, you've got Corinthians there, number 8. So that's the independent senior living. Thanks, Michelle, for that. So you see, this was actually built out by a developer. So it was called Corinthians Point Residential Community. So you've got the single family stuff there on the north. Then you've got the YMCA next. You've got the detention over there. You've got the amphitheater. That's HISD, Houston Independent School District. So quite a lot. I mean, we can talk to you to your face goes blue in terms of how much just growth around Corinthians Village. Just a lot of activity there. So we know that this is only going to continue to grow into the future and be beneficial to that asset for us. Next slide, please. So this I'm going to run through quickly because of time. So we've got an Amazon distribution center as well, not far from Corinthians, about 5 minutes. I mean, you guys know what these things are, a lot of big boxes. They have a lot of employees. So, I'm really close to the Sam Houston Tollway as well. So that's a really good thing for Corinthians because people can just come out, just get on the highway, get to where they need to get to. The Texas Medical Elite Park, I have to mention this. This is a really exciting 37-acre campus coming online, and this is going to be also close to Corinthians. So we're looking to ride this 5.4 billion project that's going to be not too far from Corinthians. Just kind of some other economic drivers. We've got a city that's poised to be the 4th in the largest in the country, right? The largest city in the country. We've got about 1.1 new residents just really coming into Texas, right? Just in the last decade alone. Again, the GDP, like I've mentioned, right? A lot of millennials, young people coming in as well, starting families here in Texas. There's a reason for that, and we kind of continue to expand and have a lot of relocation projects as well in the last 2 years. So this is good for Houston. This is good for Corinthian Village. Next slide, please. So again, Michelle kind of briefly mentioned kind of the location in terms of where Corinthians is. So the really strategic vantage point where that property is the affordability, right? So that's number one. And then we also have just, this inelastic base of renters that have to be in that area. So we're just in the right spot for those demographics. We're not kind of like in Houston proper where the rent are like 3,000 or whatever a month. We're really at that point where we know that folks are going to be able to afford what we're going to be charging. So we're really excited about that. And we have just a really nice demographics of folks there that we know that they can afford that property. And you can see in the bottom graph, it's kind of like the market rent per unit and kind of the rent growth. So you can kind of see we've got this steady rent growth in Houston. And we just, as for us from a kind of micro level, right, for Corinthians, we want to continue to ride that continually into the future. You can also see kind of like the year-on-year market rent per unit, right? That's really important as well, right? So you need to see that that's kind of a constant, just steady growth, nothing too crazy, but really steady and kind of going into the future. So we're looking to again tap into that and leverage that for this asset. Next slide, please. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, so a few more graphs, right? What I really want to talk about this is since 2019, in that sub-market, so this is not, the whole of Houston, this is in the Southwest Houston area, the rent per square foot has gone up 18%, right? So this is really good for us. And we don't really see this, as continues to decline. This is going to obviously have, kind of peaks and troughs, but we know that this is going to be favorable for our asset. And it's just kind of been a faster growth than kind of the overall MSA area. So that really caught our attention. And then a lot of those MSA growth is actually happening, not in, like I said, Houston proper, it's kind of on the outskirts where Corinthians is. So this is good for us, right? And again, I mentioned like the rent is by choice. So a lot of this property here are kind of averaging 13, 17 a month, right? Compared to like I said, in the metro area, which could be, from upwards of 1,600 or even more, right? So this is also good for us. But I think Michelle mentioned this, it's kind of the bottom part of the slide. The cost basis of Corinthians is just incredible. This property was built in 2009. So I mean, I don't even know if you can build anything, for 6 to 7 a door, right? For those in real estate, understand kind of the cost of construction and how incredibly expensive it can be. So for us to be able to come in and get this property at such a good price is just a testament of kind of how great this deal is going to be in terms of making money in real estate when you go in. So we're really super excited about that. And just the Southwest Houston area has historically been one of the more liquid markets. So we think that's going to be beneficial again. Next slide, please. So we're going to kind of go into the property overview. So for those who want to Google the asset, that's the address, 6105 West Orem. If you're in the local area, feel free to drive by. It's 124 units. As Michelle mentioned, it's about 5.77 acre. Density is about 21.5 units per acre. Currently at 93, we're hoping to, increase that upon acquisition. We really just have one building, by the way. So that's, quite good in terms of management, right? It's just a L shape and 3 stories, right? Concrete is fantastic, concrete slab. The foundation, the exterior is brick veneer hardy plank. Very, very, it has a lot of longevity. The roof is pitched and not flat, so we shouldn't have any kind of issues with water pooling over there. Parking is asphalt, pretty strong. We have about 130 parking spaces, so ample parking spaces. In terms of the unit amenities, we have central AC, pretty much each AC for each apartment, which is good. Brushed nickel hardware and fixtures, vinyl plank, carpet flooring, patios and balconies on select units. Walk-in closets, wash and dryer connections, of course, dishwashers, microwaves, very pet friendly, of course. And the good thing is, of course, we have on-site management, so folks can always go to the on-site management. But we have a business center, right? Not a lot of apartments have this, but we have a business center, so folks might, kind of go in there and use the computers, do whatever they need to do. Of course, we have a clubhouse, a fitness center, which is great. We have really, as you can see on the picture on the left, we have, picnic areas, we have barbecue grills, of course, and elevators for folks to go up and down. We don't want to go on the stairs, on-site laundry facilities, a controlled access gate. This is extremely important in terms of just folks feeling, really secure, having a gated community. So this is really good. Next slide, please. And just kind of showing you some other pictures and different, kind of views of the asset. And of course, you can take a look at this later as well. So next slide, Michelle. I think I'm going to be almost done here. Yes, I do want to pick out something really quickly. So we've got the picture in the kind of like in the middle on the top with the fans. That's kind of like an area for folks, for residents to come, they can have like different events. So this is really good to kind of build community rapport. When we're actually on site, we're in that room as well. So this is kind of really unique and very nice. We have other things like, other areas within the property as well that can be utilized for different things. And I'm sure we can get into that later as well, but really wanted to make mention of that. Next slide, Michelle. I think I'll be rounding up here. Yeah, some more pictures of the units right there. I think, yeah. Next, please. Slide. Next slide, please. I think, Michelle, are you taking over from here?
Yeah, I'll take over from here. So this is the unit mix slide, which actually has a lot of information. So let me walk you through that. So we have 5 unit types. Efficient, we only have 2 units. Square footage is average 535 square feet. And then the second type is 1 bedroom, 1 bath, called 1x1. Square footage is 719. And then we also had the other one bedroom, 1 bath plus a study room. Average square footage is 848, which is almost the size of a 2-bedroom. And then the fourth type is a 2-bedroom with 1 bath, 877 square feet. 2-bedroom with 2 baths, 1,000 feet. So those are the 5 types of units. And then we also have 3 different types of rents because we support low-income renters. So this area highlighted with gray, they are supporting only the income not exceeding 50% of the median income of Houston, Woodland, Sugarland, the median income. Then they can rent those 8 units. And then the next section is dedicated to the 60% low income. So those renters, their income cannot exceed 60% of the median income of Houston, Sugarland, Woodland area. We have 32 of those units. And then the last section is the market. Those are 82, total 82 units of the market that we can rent at the market. No restrictions to low income. So the next, I want to give you some definitions of effective rent, market rent, and pro forma rent. What are those rents mean? So the market rent is actually what we set to rent, like the market rent we're supposed to rent to do the advertisement of these. So those are the rents that we set to rent out. And then effective rent is the actual in-place rent. So you can see actually for most of those unit types, our current effective rent, they're already the same as the market rent. Only a few unit types, like say, for example, this one, the effective rent is $977, and it's a few dollars short of that. The reason is we may have, because a lot of the residents, they are very stable. They have been living in this community for years, like more than 10, more than close to 20. So for some of those early ones, I'm sorry, not 20. Close to 20. For those early ones, their rent may not reach the current market rent. So average, we are a little bit shorter of the market rent. That's the reason. But for the reason, a couple of years, all the new leases signed, they are the same as the market rent. So what does that mean? That means it's time to increase our rent. And then the performer rent is what we set actually, we want to reach in our business plan, in our financial analysis. We want to reach fully to this performer rent in 18 months. So those are the rents we set, and I'm going to give you the justification why those performer rents are very reasonable, very conservative. The current market rent, because the low income 50%, 60%, we actually have the HUD give us the guidance of those rents. We cannot exceeding certain rents. So the market rents we show here for the 50%, 60% rent, they were actually from 2022 HUD guidance. The seller, they haven't been managing this property very efficiently, and they haven't been increasing rents for at least 2 years. So the performer rents that we put here, they are actually similar and a little bit lower than the 2024 guidance. So in June of this year, the HUD just gave out the new guidance for this year. So our 50% is 50%, 60% actually, those performer rents are actually lower than the last year, 2023 HUD guidance. So that's why we think our performer rents are very conservative. And the other thing I want to show you here is look at the current market rent for the one bedroom, one bath. Our market, we have 52 units of those, but our market rent is even lower than the 60% HUD guidance. This obviously is not right? That's because the seller hasn't worked on this diligently. So that gives us the opportunity that we can increase rent significantly on this, which is the most unit numbers. So the performer rent that we set for this type is actually 1,130. This is actually in line with this year's guidance for the 60%. So that's why we think it's very reasonable to reach. And so on and so forth for the 2x1, all these. So for the efficient, the city gives, the HUD gives the guidance even for the low income, the 60% low income is over 1,000. And we set those two efficient, they are actually market. So our setting is more than $100 less than the HUD's 60% set for the 2024. So that's why we think the performer rent that we put here is very reasonable and conservative. And we want to, once we have this property, we want to implement those new rents, and then we're not going to increase immediately for everyone, but we're going to increase gradually for new leases. When we renew, we're also going to gradually increase, and we hope in 18 months we'll fully reach this performer rent. So that's basically part of our business plan. So in the next few slides, I'm also going to show you some rent comps that we found. So this is the map we're showing. Corinthian is here, and we have a few rent comps properties that on the map are showing like basically is circling around we have different directions to find different comps. So from these comps, for the one bedroom in those properties, those are the rents that they charge. So there are a few, because our property is a senior and it's affordable living. So we have types of, for those comps, we have different types. So our property is a senior, and we have a mixture of affordable and market rents, right? So the top three, they are similar to us. They are also senior, and they also has a mixture of affordable units and market rents. And then this senior market, meaning they are senior facility, but they don't have any affordable units. They are all market rents. And then the next three, we said close by, they are very close to our property, but they are not seniors. One is affordable and the market mixture, and then the other two, they're all like market rent. So you can see, this is one bedroom, all the different properties, their average square feet are very similar. So we can add, we can compare the dollar per square feet. You can see that ours, even within the same type, our ratio is on the lower end. And then the other I want to point out is this senior or market. Our property right now, we have the city with this restriction of 40 units. That's because when this property was built, the city has contributed more than 3 million. So in return, they were asking this 40 units to dedicate to low income. But this restriction will expire in 5 to 7 years. So you can see the potential. Once this restriction expires, we have the freedom actually to turn those 40 units into the market. So you can see that those are the potentials that this property has, right? And then the close by, I also want to point out, actually, we visited those properties and then they are of very high ratio than us, right? This property ratio is low, but because the average square footage is average square foot is high, so you can see the rents they charge is much higher than us. And then personally, to be honest, their conditions, even though their vintage is very similar to us, but their interior conditions is cannot compare with us. It's much worse. So 2-bedroom, for the 2-bedroom, our square footage is much smaller than the comps for most of the comps. So it's not, you know, if when you compare the dollar per square feet, it's not that comparable. But if you look at the absolute dollar number per unit, you can tell that our charge is on the very lower end. The same for, you know, all different sectors. If you want to compare, the conclusion is our rent still has room to increase. So this is our business plan. Really, the property is kept in very good shape. So what we want to do is, according to the current state, we probably need to do some power wash once we take over, and some exterior painting, not necessarily the whole building, but touch up, maybe after the power wash, we'll see. And then the landscaping, tree trimming, the current owner, they are towards this selling, they're not taking very good care of those. So there are quite a few dead trees that we need to trim, all these. And then we also want to add a brighter exterior lighting. Really, those are all the maybe so-called necessary things that we need to do after we take over. The other ones we put here are our, we can do when we see the needs. So they have a small fitness center that we probably can upgrade, meaning maybe we can buy some equipment. But really, the YMCA is next to our building. It's just a very small path, can walk like within a minute to there. So we actually, the seller actually agreed that, you know, not agree, we're actually, you know, negotiating with him. And then he said, you know, probably can give us, our residents, some discount for the YMCA. So there's also possibility that, you know, we can use the YMCA next door. Replace and repair the roof at some point. So right now the roof is okay. Actually, the seller just told us, actually, they just purchased renewed the new insurance. The new insurance, they actually require roof certification. So actually just got that certification. But at some point, right now, it's what, 15 years roof. So the roof has 30 years. So at some point, we may need to repair or replace. And then repair fence, that's just as needed. And then refurbish gas grills and install pergola. It's at the back door, backyard right now. They have this gas grills. So maybe we want to, you know, upgrade a little bit. And then we are also, we actually visited some other senior facilities. We saw that, you know, if we have a cover space outdoor, that will help those seniors. They go outdoors to have some activities, chat with their neighbors. So maybe in the future, we'll see like whether we can install that kind of covered, you know, space in some outdoor for those residents. For the interior, we don't have a big plan of doing some upgrades. I think the current, as you know, Ola showed the interior pictures, it's really in good shape when we did the every unit walkthrough. The seniors really keep the interior in good shape, but they are not as, you know, destructive as those families that with young kids. So we don't have any big plans. It's all the things listed here: painting, flooring, appliances, all these things is just when we as necessary. The only thing we may need to consider is maybe at the end of 5 year or 7 year, if we decide that we want to convert those 40 units into the market, then we may want to do some upgrades. We should have enough reserve to do that later. Other income improvement, those are the thoughts that possible to implement, and that's, you know, we want to put those thoughts down. So one is implement bulk cable internet contract. This we have implemented in other multifamily properties that we have. This can be a successful method of increasing other income. So we'll see if it's possible to implement on this property. And then on the first floor of this property, we actually had two huge rooms. One is for the barber shop and the other is for the health center that the property have been used before. So right now they actually, they don't have this kind of service. So we want to probably repurpose those, put them into their use again. And then the other thing we're thinking about is for reserved parking. But this is also, we'll see after we take over, we'll have a better understanding of the resident needs, and we'll see whether this will be a proper fit to charge reserved parking. So for the loan terms, so this is a HUD assumable loan. So right now we pretty much finished the assumption, all these documents. So it's you know, it's a very tedious one, but you know, we got a lot of help with the from the current lender, so quite successful there. You know, we have all the documents ready already. Principal balance, if we expect to close sometime in October, the principal balance will be about 6,474,000. And the loan to value is very high, is 78%. So with such high loan value, you know, right now, if you get a new loan, right, typically currently it's probably you'll get 60 to maximum maybe 65 loan to value. So this 78 is very high. Under such a high loan to value, if we still having a decent cash on cash return, this is quite amazing. Interest rate is fixed at 3.57%. And we don't have any interest only payments. It's we need to pay the principal every month. And then the long term still have 25 years left. Amortization is 35 total. Prepayment penalty, it had previously, but it gradually fades away. So by the time we own this property, we won't have any prepayment penalty. So basically, those are all the advantages of this assumed loan. So this is our pro forma. We are planning to hold 5 to 7 years, but I put all the 10 years here. So let me just you know, walk you through briefly. It looks like very complicated, but it's actually not. So as I said, you know, we set in 18 months, we'll reach the pro forma rent, right? So during those 18 months period, we call value add period. And then after that, it's stabilized. So we call stabilized period. So in the stabilized period, those at the bottom are our assumptions. We will assume that the rent growth year over year after stabilization will be 3%. Loss to lease, those are 0.5, vacancy 8, concession point. So that will give us, etc. That will give us the total economic loss about 10%. And then for for the other income growth, we'll assume 3%. And then for the expenses, we'll assume also the expenses growth will be 3%, but for the tax growth, we'll assume 4%. And then during those 18 months, that's why because we'll go from 0.1, which is the current rent, to the 18 months, the pro forma rent. Because we'll have a big jump. So for the year 1, the year 2, and some spill over to year 3, you will see the rent growth, especially year 2 is more than the stabilized growth rate of 3%. So those are the assumptions. So under those assumptions, the model will give us every year, what's the effective gross income, and then what is the operating expenses. And so that gives us the income minus the expenses that will give us the net operating income. So for the first year, we'll have about 562K, and then gradually increase. The second year, we'll have the big jump, and then gradually stabilize, small yet stable increases. So those are the net operating income for each year. So for this offering, as I mentioned, the purchase price is 8.3 million. The CapEx budget that we put in, we're assuming is a little over 500K. Working capital reserve will have quite a few, more than 800. That will cover the 1-year insurance payment, because lender will require that to pay off 1-year insurance once we close. And that will also include, I think, half a year or more than half year tax escrow amount that we will put into the lender escrow. So that insurance plus tax escrow probably will be close to 270K-ish. So that leaves us about 50, also 55K-ish for the other working capital. Closing cost on 335K. That will cover, have the notes down there. That will cover lender's origination fee, lender commission, other third party and legal charges, and also GP's 2% acquisition fee, 1% guarantee fee. So that gives us the total we need to have the equity funded 9,974,000. The loan balance will be approximately 6,474K. So we need to raise 3.5 million. The down payment needs to be 1.8 million-ish. Target holding 5 to 7 years. And the project average year-over-year cash on cash for 5-year average is 4.6%. Project average annual return is 22.2% based on all those assumptions. Project equity multiply is 2.11x. Those returns were under the assumption that the exit cap rate is 5.7%. So for the equity structure, this is just a illustration. So the loan portion, and then we'll have the GP and the limited LP limited partner, who are you investors, having the total contribution 3.5 million. And then for those, we'll have 2 types of Class A and Class B investors, which I'll talk about those details later. And then for the other charges, the sponsor team will also charge asset management fee of 2% of the gross effective rents. So those are the 2 investment tiers that we want to offer. One is called Class A, the other is called Class B. So minimum investment amount is the same, 100K for each. For Class A, it's called preferred equity. And then for Class B, it's called common equity. The difference between those two is Class A preferred equity is will pay the preferred return before Class B. So basically, after we pay the loan, any remaining will pay the Class A first, return first, then goes to Class B. But Class A, we only allocated 10% of the total equity that we are going to raise, which is 350K. The reason that we allocate such amount for Class A is there's some investors, they want this kind of return. They don't want to, so for Class A, you're only going to get the 10% preferred return. You're not going to share any of the upsides when we sell the property or refinance the property. So if we hold 5 years, you'll get 10% return every year, so total 50%. So some of the investors, they would prefer this kind of lower risk, lower return. Actually, personally, David, when we invested as LP in other projects, we sometimes choose this type of preferred equity type. But we don't allocate a lot, only 10%. The remaining will be Class B. It's called common equity. So this class of investors, we also will have preferred return of 6%, meaning the GP won't take any profit till the Class B investors get their first 6% return first. Then after that, we're going to, have the profit sharing, which I will talk about in the next slide. So for Class B, according to our model, you will get total in 5 years, 91.5% total return, which is equivalent to 1.92x of your initial investment. Average cash on cash for the 5 years is 4.0%. Internal rate of return is going to be 14.5%, and the average annual return is 18.3%. You will share the upside when we do the sell and refinance. So the bottom table is basically for Class A. Each year for the, this is a HUD loan. So the HUD loan, they have some restrictions. So normally for a project, we will have quarterly distributions, but HUD may restrict the number of distributions. We need to double check, but maybe they only have like once a year to have the distribution, maybe twice a year. We will double check and let you know. So for Class A, the cash flow for first, if you contribute 100K, for each year you will have 10,000. So total you will have 50K in return. At the end of 5 years, when we sell, we return your principal, and plus total over the 5 years, you'll have 50K. So for Class B, it is a little bit more complicated. So as I said, you will first receive the 6% preferred return, maybe pay annually per HUD regulation. And then because our average cash on cash for the Class B will average 4%. So any shortfalls in this preferred payment will be accrued and paid at the sale or refinance effect. So GP is not going to share anything before the 6% is reached. And then upon a capital event, which is to sell the property, you are first entitled to 100% return of your original capital, and then your preferred return, and then we're going to have the profit sharing. So after the 6%, LP and GP will have 70% to 30% split. And then if we reach average annual return of 18%, so above 18%, LP and GP will have 50 and 50% profit sharing. So according to our current assumptions, performers, so if you contribute 100K, you will, for the first year, our cash on cash for Class B will be 2%. Second year will increase to 3.4%, and then so on and so forth for the remaining years. So you will have this amount of the actual dollar amount. And then at the end of the 5 year, upon sale, we'll first match you the 6%. So any shortfalls will be matched here. And then above the 6% after the split, you will have this amount, 61K-ish, and then the return of the principal. So total over the 5 years, if you invest 100K, you will total get return back 191K. So here it's on the top, this is just a comparison of project return, overall project return versus Class B investor return. So you can take a look. And then this, I have already talked about all these sequential events, which one will be the first, which one will be the next.
Michelle, real quick, do you want to talk about that cash on cash with the principal paid
Oh,
out?
yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for reminding me. I want to point out actually, the beauty of this deal is actually the bottom when we said, you know, because I mentioned before, the loan-to value is very high, right? So we actually have a huge, very high percentage of the cash on cash actually contributed to the principal pay down, right? So, you know, a lot of those new deals, they actually, for the first few years, they're actually interest only, right? They won't pay principal. So if you want to compare apple to apple, so if our so-called cash on cash, if excluding principal pay down, is going to be 7.4, 8.8, 9.8, 10.5, 11.2, right? So if you average this, it's huge. So if you want to compare apple to apple with those projects that has only interest only for the first few years, those are the big differences, right? This is a sensitivity analysis, basically is for our risk management. So the you know, the idea for risk management is basically not to lose your principal, right? So here it shows basically our assumptions is all the center point here for those graphs. So each graph, we have different parameters. For example, this first graph, we have annual rent growth and vacancy rate. They are different combinations, right? So our under the current assumption is always the center point that is close to 2.02 x for the project, right? So you will see the even under the rent growth is 1% and then 12% vacancy. We'll still have 1.1, which 10%. We're not going to lose our the original equity that you put in. And then the second graph is a combination of rent growth and exit cap rate. So right now, our center point, we're assuming 5.7% and 3% rent growth. And you can see actually when it go down to 1% growth and then cap rate increasing to 6.1%, we still have some returns. So the number I have here is even like rent growth is 0%. As a cap rate increase to 6.5%, we'll have our original equity still there preserved. And then this one is showing you the different exit year and then different exit cap rate combinations. Only the first year you will see that, you know, it will be lower than your equity, but we're not going to exit in the first year. You know, it's not possible, right? So after that, you will not lose your initial equity. And then this is the vacant rate versus the exit cap rate, the same thing. So this is basically to show you we have a, you know, some risk control here. So this is the, if you decide to invest with us, this basically, those are the key timelines. So we actually had a PSA signed back in May 3rd. And then during this period of time, almost 3 months, we have been working with lender for the loan assumption. As I said, HUD loan assumption is a very tedious process. We provided numerous documents to them and now it's ready. So today we have the webinar, and then the legal documents, they are already pretty much ready by our attorney. So they were available to, if you decide to invest, they will be ready for you to review 2 days later from today. And then you will have 10 days to review all these documents. You can complete, the signature with those and return to us. And then you have another week to wire the funds to us. And we're expecting to close this deal sometime in October. It depends on the how to review, and then how to usually will take 1 to 2 months to review the package. Minimum investment is 100K. It can be cash, your IRA, self-direct IRA, or solo 401K, or a combination of all these types. And then it will be on a first come, first serve base. And then actually, so we have been already talking to, different investors. So the soft commitments have already actually surpassed our required equity threshold. And then the preference will be given to those who have already, later on, final will be who wire the funds to the investment will be, give the preference first. So in order to invest, you will either need to be a accredited investor or sophisticated investor with a prior relation with one of the sponsors. So this is going to be a 506B subscription, not a 506C. So once you decide, you can send a confirmation email to me, Michelle, at this email address. If you are Brookie's investor, or to Ola at his email. If you are Dwelling's investors, with your legal first and last name, the investment amount, your phone number, and if you have a WeChat ID, you can also provide that. So the timeline, and then please title the email as CV, which stands for Corinthian Village Subscription Confirmation. And you can do so within this timeline. And then you will receive and read and sign the legal documents. If you have any question, which consists of investors questionnaire, a company operating agreement, and subscription agreement. This is the time period for this action item. And you will deliver the completed documents to sponsors, and then the sponsor will review, and then you can wire the funds. So those are the timelines that you can follow. So that's pretty much it. So right now we're open to any questions that you may have. We want you to fully understand this property, this project. So if you have any questions, you can ask at that time, at this time, or later. If you think about any new questions after this webinar, you can let us know, any of us know.
Yeah, for those who have the chat, I've just kind of put some questions there. So if you want to ask any questions, feel free to just put it in the chat. I do have some quick questions for David. While folks are kind of typing any questions, we're going to go through them pretty quickly. I know it's getting a little bit late. So David, is the property in the flooding zone?
Yeah, no, it's not in the flooding zone.
Okay. Would you consider this property to be in a safe area?
Yeah, we always check that, make sure, it's not in war zone, but not only it's not in war zone, this is a very, very good area, actually. So.
Okay. I'm kind of speaking to some of our investors. One of the biggest question is, why is the seller selling this property at such a low price?
Yeah, a lot of people will, yeah, a lot of people will feel surprised, right? So why seller want to sell this so low? We are when we calculate it, it's about like 65 per square feet for cost, actually. So why I want to give you a little background, actually, when they built this house back in 2009, because the seller is non-profit organization, so they get support from the church. So the land was owned by the church. So church provides that land free of money to this seller to form that non-profit organization. Then, so the land is free, and they also get help from the city to contribute, I think 3.4 million, something like that. And so to get that 40 unit for to be affordable unit, so that's 3.4, and they get a loan for 6.4 million. So, and another, they get 700 loan from another church organization. So together, 10.5 million. That's just for the building cost. And they told us even architect was volunteer to get the architect done free. So they didn't pay for money for that. So basically they built this property with more than 10 million, but our purchase price, all we know is 8.3 million. And they basically, there's a couple of reasons. And they consider, because they have a mission, they think they complete their mission. But another hurdle for the seller is really they want to sell. It's because the hard loan usually require a little high for capital reserve. So they are kind of, as we realize, they kind of short of capital reserve, which required by the hard. Since they are non-profit organization, they already spend all the money. They don't have a lot of money left. And it's hard to give, it's kind of difficulty to get that actual capital. They cannot go back to church and say, hey, can you guys, donate the chunk of money to fund this, operation. So they can't. So that's why.
Okay, yeah, no, thanks for that, David. I've got a couple more questions that I think Michelle already answered about the affordable units, how they work, and the difference between an odd loan and a regular one. We can jump to another question I had as well from one of the investors. They were basically saying, why this is such a good, really good deal? Why are you not planning to own the property for a longer time?
Well, we really love, to own long term, right? So this thing, first of all, this hard fixed loan, 3.57%. Adding the mortgage insurance is a little over 4%. So our inflation is basically like a higher than that, everyone knows. So it's like free money. And if you really hold it for 25 years, then the building will be free and clear, right? But we still, there's some, we will tell, one is for the affordability. And by the time, like after 5 years or 7 years, that affordability will go out and everything will go to market. So potentially, we can get very good exit price that time. But we'll tell. If we can hold, we hold, Or another way is we can refinance it to get all the capital back. So that's another way, just thinking.
Okay, yeah, I got a question as well from one of the investors. Are the residents paying for their own water, the water bills?
Right now, no, the public pay everything. Actually, we just discovered when we walk through each individual unit, it has water meter. That's very, very unusual. But even like for other asset we manage, even without water meter, we always charge it back. For all the 4 multi-family we manage it right now, we always charge the water back. So right now, to answer your question is, the question is, no, we probably paying, but that's some other income we're going to have.
Yeah, actually, in our business plan, we will probably going to gradually charge maybe about $25 for the utility charge back to the residents. So we'll see that too as a one way to increase our other income.
Yeah, another way is I spoke to the on-site manager the other day, so we can do valet trash as well. And for that property, for valet trash, it's a very easy service. You have a car, you pick up the trash, you go to the dumpster, you have elevator, it's easy. Instead of, and residents like that too, because they're senior, they really don't want to walk all the way to take trash to the dumpster. So that's another way we can help. And
Perfect, brilliant. Couple of questions here. I think we can skip. Major repairs, Michelle mentioned that. Yeah, this has been a really big one. Houston has had a lot of bad storms in the past. How has this impacted this particular property?
you talk about the weather storm.
Yeah, all the kind of interesting weathers we've been seeing lately.
Yeah, a lot of people worry about the weather in Texas because we can see, a lot of bad weather this day or this years. And I would say, we experienced a similar thing the other state as well. Just really depend on how we mitigate all those risks. But for this particular property, we did check with the owner, and in Houston, there's a couple of few major storm, right? So for each, like Harvey, no, this probably nothing impact, nothing happened. The Harvey is the kind of biggest one. And also back a couple years ago, there's frozen, and this project has no pipe broken whatsoever, nothing. So like this year we have a 2 storm as well, and yeah, this property is very clean, no problem at all. So
Okay,
we always need
perfect.
to, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this
Yeah.
is also for the past, but for the future, we also need to have the insurance, right? So the insurance program is also very important to cover, to buy us the insurance.
Actually, I want to point, right? So we've been working with the insurance for this property for a few months already. We already got quote, and the seller, I believe they spend more than 200 something on insurance. So we got a lot of cheaper than that, but of course I'm not going to tell them, right? So it's a lot cheaper than what they got. But on top of that, and a few days ago, and they got me a better quote, but for high rate of deduction for one hill. So, well, I was still in the middle of it, but we kind of decide, we want to pay a little actual premium just for safe side. So get that deductible down. So, but still under very, very reasonable price.
Awesome. Final questions. If you guys have any questions, please drop in the chat. I'm looking at the time check. 9:28 Eastern, 8:28 Central. David, what is the platform you will use for the investment subscription?
We utilize cash flow portal, so later on we will send out that link to whoever interested. So cash flow portal.
Awesome. That's it from me in terms of any questions. If any more comes, I'll let you know. Michelle, over to you.
Okay. I don't see any more questions. Is there any? If you have any questions, you can also raise your hand. We can see that.
If not, we can conclude the webinar. Going going. You can also email us later. We're more than happy to answer those questions.
Yep.
It's been a long time, so.
Yeah. So thank you for staying with us all the time. We hope you enjoy it, and we hope you feel this is a good opportunity. So please, if you have more questions later on, please just email us or call us. Any one of us will be fine. And then we hope you can join us on this journey to invest in this exciting opportunity. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Yep.
Mhm.
Bye-bye.